All praise, glory, and honor is most certainly due to the Most High, the God of the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And peace to you in the name of his son, Jesus. I count it truly a blessing each and every time that I can come before to preach the word of God. And never do I count it as a light thing to do so. This last Sabbath lesson I dealt with the pagan holidays of Christianity. And today, you know, just to add to that point, one of the days that obviously is Sunday worship weekly, time after time, week after week. Christians flood churches on the wrong day when the Bible is telling you something entirely different. It didn't tell you to go on the first day. It told you to go on the seventh day. And so we're going to look at the significance of the seventh day. So now I want to pick it up in the bare sheet in the very beginning in Genesis chapter 1. Okay, because here in Genesis chapter 1, we're going to see the creations and we're going to see how the earth goes into a point of transition to where it is now able to sustain human life. And then we're going to see what the Most High did, what the Lord did. So now this is Genesis 1:1. It says, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. All right. So how long ago that was, we don't know. Okay. Scientists say it was 13.77 billion years ago. We don't know. The Bible doesn't tell you. But there's a gap between verse 1 and verse 2 as far as time, because at a certain point, the earth was covered in water. Okay, and if you read many of the oral stories of a lot of, or even some that are written down of these other nations all over the world, you'll see that oftentimes the earth began as it was flooded in water. But nevertheless, or there was a time when this earth was completely flooded in water. So it says, and the earth was without form of void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, let there be light, and there was light. And God saw the light that it was good, and God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night, and the evening and the morning were the first day. Understand, this light is coming from the sun. This water from the purview of the earth, the water is permeating the water. And so now, and now things start to appear. So the second day, you see a separation of the waters and the firmament and the heaven. Then you see the third day where you see land and sea and plant life appears. You'll see on the fourth day, the sun and moon and the stars. The fifth day, animal life. The sixth day, living creatures are brought forth. The sixth day, also man is brought forth. Right? We read in 26, and God said, "Let us make man in our image after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth." So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him, male and female created he them. So now on the sixth day in verse 31, it says, and God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was good, very good. And the evening and the morning were the sixth day. This was not a 24-hour period, brothers and sisters. Okay, each one, this a day, this just to show you that, let's hold our finger here and go to the Psalms, just so we know what these weren't actual literal 24-hour periods. This is Psalms, the 90th division. And it says concerning the Lord, it says in Psalms 90:4, for 1,000 years in thy sight are but as yesterday when it is past, and as a watch in the night. Okay. 2 Peter 3:8 says the same thing. It says a similar thing concerning how long a day is unto the Lord. I'll just read that. Second Peter, the third chapter and the eighth verse. In the eighth verse, it says, but beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing, that one day is with the Lord as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as one day. So now, when you think about the creation, understand he made everything in the beginning, but at a certain point, from two, the earth was covered in water, and then all these things start to happen. Okay, and that took a period of 6,000 years. Okay, but something happened on the seventh day, or the 7,000th year. This is Genesis 2 and verse 1. It said, thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. See, we understand here that the work that the Lord did was finished. Okay, And just so we know who did it. Secondary, because this is not the focus of the message here, but let's so we understand who the one that did this was. Okay, I just want to read. Let's go to the book of Hebrews, just so we can understand who made everything. This is Hebrews, the first chapter. Hebrews 1:1. It said, God, who at sundry times and in divers manners spake in time past unto the fathers by the prophets, hath in these last days spoken unto us by his Son, whom he hath appointed heir of all things, by whom also he made the worlds. So he made everything that you see. So when he said, let us make man in their image, it's likely that the Father was saying that, and then the Son did it. So Jesus, before he was manifested in the flesh, he made everything. That's why he could even tell you he was there in the beginning. That's why he told the Jews, he said, Abraham rejoiced to see my day. You even read in John, in that same book, where you can read that in around the John 8 chapter, before Abraham was, I am. In John 1, it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made. And it goes on to tell you, and the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory, the glory of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. So when we're reading in Genesis, understand who the one that made everything. Jesus, the one who appeared unto Abraham, Jesus. Okay, so we understand the one that Adam was talking to, that's Jesus. But verse 1, it said, thus in Genesis 2:1, thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the hosts of them. And on the seventh day, God ended his work which he had made. And he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. So God is working. Then it said, and God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which God created and made. So he worked for 6 days or 6,000 years, and he rested on the seventh. Okay, and that's what Sabbath means. It means to rest, and it has great significance. But before we get to that significance, let's look at what he gave man. Okay, because we know what he did. He sanctified not the first day, but the seventh. Let's go to the book of Exodus. Because here, when he manifested himself unto one people, who was the nation of Israel, he told them something concerning the Sabbath. This is Exodus, the 20th chapter. It says in verse 8, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. So this is a day of Kadash. It's to be sanctified, set apart. It's every other day is given a number. This one is given a name. The day of rest, Shabbat. It says in 9, 6 days shall thou labor and do all thy work, just like he labored for 6,000 years. He says, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. So you're not supposed to do any work. And those who are around you, your family, or you're not supposed to have anybody to work for you on that day. And he tells you why. He says, for in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. So he took you all the way back to the beginning of what God did. He sanctified it. He set it apart. Now let's see something else you're supposed to do on this day. Let's go to the book of Leviticus. Here in Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, we see these feasts of the Lord. Okay, and we see the feast of the Lord. We see the weekly Sabbath, and we see the annual Sabbaths. Okay, so now this is Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, and verse 1, because we want to find out what you're supposed to do on the Sabbath day. See, this is what we can read in the Bible. You cannot read, you're supposed to be worshiping every Sunday in the Bible. That's not in the Bible. In a sense, that you're supposed to hold a holy convocation. Let me be clear, because these false prophets try to be slick. I heard T.D. Jakes say, it's fine. You want to go to church on Saturday. That's fine. I worship God every day. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Right. And as he's saying that, the crowd was going wild, but they didn't pay attention. He led them astray purposely, because it's not the question of what day to worship him. The day is, what day are you supposed to hold a holy convocation? In other words, what day are you supposed to go to church? Right? It's not the first day. The only time you see that is Pentecost, which always is on a Sunday. So they don't keep Pentecost. I'm not saying his church specifically. I'm just saying many Christians don't acknowledge Pentecost that you can read. That's an annual feast on it's always on a Sunday, once a year. And then they don't keep the Sabbath, but they keep the first day, which you cannot read from Genesis to Revelation to do. What are we doing? So somebody like T.D. Jackson, and he was very, he knows better. See, that's the thing. But as Paul said, Satan has ministers as well. And then it shall be according to their works. I was saying this in the lesson yesterday. It's too late in the day to be this stupid. What I mean, at a certain point, yeah, ignorance, okay, ignorance, but yes, it's a stupidity not to search out. Matter of fact, we're going to come back to Leviticus. And we're going to Acts. It's really too late in the day to do the things that are being done. It's too late in the day to not truly seek the true and living God. Your time is any time. So let's pick it up at Acts the 17th chapter. Acts the 17th chapter. Now, I want to just what I was talking about here. This is as far as you seeking some things out. Acts the 17th chapter, verse 10. It says, and the brethren immediately sent away Paul and Silas by night unto Berea, who coming thither went into the synagogue of the Jews. Listen to what it says. These were more noble than those in Thessalonica, because those in Thessalonica, it was a riot in Thessalonica because of this doctrine that was being taught about the gospel. But it says, these were more noble than those in Thessalonica, in that they received the word with all readiness of mind, and searched the scriptures daily whether those things were so. So what did they do? They were searching to see whether the things that Paul was preaching were actual and factual, which is wise to do. That's what you should do with anybody. But now let's go up a little bit in this chapter, and I want you to understand something and notice something. This is after the death and resurrection of Christ. Listen to what Paul is doing. Acts the 17th chapter, verse 1. Now when they had passed through Amphipolis and Apollonia, they came to Thessalonica, where there was a synagogue of the Jews. And Paul, as his manner was, went in unto them, and 3 Sabbath days reasoned with them out of the scriptures. So some would say, well, the Sabbath day was done away with. It was nailed to the tree. Law, that's all foolishness. Jesus was resurrected on Sunday. That's a lie. He died on Good Friday and rose Easter Sunday. That's why we got Sunday worship. That's a lie. The sign that he was the Messiah, that he was being in the grave for 3 days and 3 nights. You can't get 3 days and 3 nights from Good Friday to Easter Sunday. He went in on the Passover on the Wednesday of that week and then came out on the Sabbath. All right. So, but what was Paul's manner? Even after the death and resurrection of Christ, Paul is still observing the Sabbath. So if Paul is observing the Sabbath, let's go to Luke. We're going to go back to Leviticus. Luke, the 4th chapter. So Paul is observing the Sabbath. Let's see what Jesus is doing. You call yourself a Christian, right? So if you're a Christian, why don't you follow what Christ is doing here? This is Luke 4:16. Luke 4:16. It reads, and he came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up. And as his custom was, he went in unto the synagogue on the Sabbath day and stood up for the read. This is the same thing that Paul did. And it said, and as his manner was. Manner and custom is the same thing. It said, and there was delivered unto him the book of the prophet Isaiah. And when he had opened the book, he found the place where it was written, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he hath anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor. He has sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to preach deliverance to the captives, and recovering of sight to the blind, to set at liberty them that are bruised, to preach the acceptable year of the Lord. And he closed the book, and he gave it again to the minister, and sat down, and the eyes of all them that were in the synagogue were fastened on him. And he began to say unto them, this day is this scripture fulfilled in your ears. But what day was it? It was the Sabbath, because that was his custom. So now if you're a Christian, that's what you should be doing. It's like the first century Christians. The first century Christians weren't keeping Sunday. That didn't come to us well over 100, 200 years later. And then when then you begin to see legislation. You see the co-opting of the faith with the rise of the Roman Catholic Church. But those people in Rome and other places were already observing Sunday because it was a day of sun worship, and they were sun worshipers. So that's not Bible that you get that from. That is That is man's tradition. Let's go to Matthew the 15th chapter real quick. I haven't forgotten Leviticus, but I just want to show you what you're gonna get for dealing in that tradition. This is Matthew the 15th chapter, because even in his day, these weren't people they kept the Sabbath, but what they did, they didn't have the right mindset when it came to the law. And he told them something because they had a question about. He said, "Why did thy disciples transgress the tradition of the elders, so they wash not their hands when they eat bread?" He said, "Why do you transgress the commandment of God by your tradition?" And he told them about themselves. See, he said, "Hey, you have said basically, honor thy father and thy mother as a gift. Thus have you made the commandment of God of none effect by your tradition." And that's what people say. Well, we're gonna worship God the way we worship. We want to worship, as I was saying in the Sabbath lesson we just had. God is a spirit, and then that worshiper must worship Him in spirit and in truth. His laws are the truth. His commandments are the truth. He didn't die Good Friday, rises to Sunday, and therefore that means you need to keep Sunday worship. That is a lie. That is a lie. You can't worship God according to that. He tells you in verse 7, he said, "You hypocrites, well did Isaiah prophesy of you, saying, these people drive nigh to me with their lips. They drive nigh to me with their mouth, and honor me with their lips, with their heart is far from me. But in vain they do worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men." And that's what people have done. So all that years, all that Sunday worship, all that was vanity. All that was for nothing. All that was totally contrary to what he told you to do. And you need to be mindful of that. You need to be mindful of that, because people are professing God, but you're not doing anything that he said. That's why he told them in Matthew the 7th chapter and 21, "Not everyone that saith unto me, Lord, Lord, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven, but he that doeth the will of my Father which is in heaven." See, doing his will is not doing your own thing when it's contrary to what he said to do. He said, "Many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in thy name? And in thy name have cast out devils, and in thy name done many wonderful works." He said, "And then will I profess unto them, I never knew you. Depart from me, ye that work iniquity." What iniquity? When you violate the Sabbath, that is sin. Matter of fact, we still haven't forgotten Leviticus. But let's go to Deuteronomy. And just to show you the severity of it, the severity of the situation. Oh, excuse me, Numbers. I said Numbers. See, you people think they can just do what they want to do. Yeah, you can do what you want to do, but there are consequences. There are consequences. This is Numbers the 15th chapter and verse 32. It says, "And while the children of Israel were in the wilderness, they found a man that gathered sticks on the Sabbath day." Now, it could be that he was trying to kill a fire. That very well could be the case. Okay, but if you know anything about killing fire, you read about it in Acts and Paul's day, you find that was very laborious. So you don't want to refrain from that. So now this man is picking up sticks on the Sabbath day. In verse 33 says, and they that found him gathering sticks brought him unto Moses and Aaron and unto all the congregation. And they put him in a ward because it was not declared what should be done unto him or be done to him. They put him in prison. And they inquired of the Lord. And the Lord said, "Oh, don't worry about my Sabbath. Don't really mean anything. I just had y'all doing something." And the Lord, I'm in verse 35 now, read along. "And the Lord said unto Moses, the man shall be surely put to death." Now understand something. Jesus Christ the same yesterday and today and forever, Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. He does not change. There's no variableness, no shadow of turning in him. He doesn't have to change. So if that be the case, he feels the same way about you violating his Sabbath as he did back then. See, it's man that constantly changes his mind and how he feels about certain things. The Most High is omniscient. He knows what he wants you to do, and he meant what he said when he told you what to do. So now you got one here. He said he was gonna violate. He said, "Well, I'm gonna do what I want to do," and they put him in war. And they said, "What should we do?" The Lord said to kill him. So now, if it's okay for you to just violate a Sabbath, what about this one here? You're like, wait a minute, how come they don't have to have any standard? No, it's not the case. You're just gonna pay at a later date. It's saying they put him in war because it was not declared what should be done to him. Verse 35 again. "And the Lord said unto Moses, the man shall be surely put to death. All the congregation shall stone him with stones without the camp," outside the camp. Then it said, "And all the congregation brought him without the camp and stoned him with stones, and he died as the Lord commanded Moses. Let's go to back to Leviticus. Now we can read Leviticus 23. Leviticus, the 23rd chapter. Leviticus, the 23rd chapter. So what are you supposed to do on the Sabbath day? Leviticus 23. And we're going to pick it up at verse 1. So it says, and the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, concerning the feast of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations. Even these are my feasts. These are not the feast of the Jews. These are not the feast of the Israelites. These are not the feast of Moses. These belong to the Lord. Holy convocations are holy gatherings, sanctified gatherings. Then it says, 6 days shall work be done, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of rest. In holy convocation, ye shall do no work therein. It is the Sabbath of the Lord in all your dwellings. So what are you supposed to do? Number one, you're supposed to cease from your labor. And I mean the word of the day rather, is meaning means rest. Couldn't get it out. The day, Sabbath or Shabbat, means to rest. That's what you're supposed to do on that day. Cease from all your labors. You're not supposed to be doing anything laborious. You're not supposed to be on your job. Right? You're not supposed to be doing a bunch of labor around your house. Nor are you also, you're supposed to hold a holy convocation. And that's for the entirety of the day. Now, I'm not saying a holy convocation has to be 24 hours, but as far as ceasing from your labor, that's 24 hours. And it's not just, it doesn't end at 6 p.m. No. Evening in the morning was the first day. Once you see the change in the day, that's how you know the Sabbath is coming in. So again, you're supposed to do what? Ceasing your labor and hold a holy convocation. And what does this show? Let's go to Exodus, the 31st chapter. Exodus, the 31st chapter. Exodus, the 31st chapter, and we're going to pick it up at, let's see here, at verse 12. Because when you're keeping the Sabbath, what is that showing? Exodus 31 and 12, it says, and the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, speak thou also unto the children of Israel, saying, verily my Sabbath ye shall keep, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that ye may know that I am the Lord that does sanctify you. It shows who your God is. It shows who you serving. You serving the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You keep the Sabbath. If you are not serving the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, you don't keep the Sabbath. You keep Sunday. Despite what you may say, you might claim the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. But as we just read, he'll say, I never knew you. See, another place you can read, he that said, I know him. Matter of fact, let's just go read it. Let's just go read it. Hold a finger here. We're going to be right back. Let's go to 1 John. See, it's some basic fundamental things that people have wrong. And it's imperative that it behooves you to get them right. It's just that simple. This is 1 John 2 and verse 3. It says in 1 John 2 and 3, it says, and hereby we do know that we know him if we keep his commandments. He that saith, I knoweth him and keepeth not his commandments is a liar, and the truth is not in him. Okay? So you talking about you don't keep the commandments, then how do you know him? Is that your God? No, that's how you know him. But now back to Exodus 31. So he said, it's a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that ye may know that I am the Lord that doth sanctify you. Then it says in verse 14, ye shall keep the Sabbath, therefore, for it is holy unto the Lord. Unto you, everyone that defileth it shall surely be put to death. For whosoever doeth any work therein, that soul shall be cut off from among his people. Okay, so we understand also when we read Numbers, the 15th chapter, that was the case. So that's what happened. Now we're going to pick up at 15. It says 6 days may work be done, but in the seventh day is the Sabbath of rest, holy to the Lord. Whosoever doeth any work in the Sabbath day, he shall surely be put to death. Wherefore the children of Israel shall keep the Sabbath, to observe the Sabbath throughout their generations. It says something for a perpetual covenant. All right. For a perpetual covenant. Okay, so that's something that's supposed to be kept forever. All right. And then it said, it is a sign between me and the children of Israel forever. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, and the seventh day he rested and was refreshed. And he gave unto Moses, when he had made an end of communing with him upon Mount Sinai, 2 tables of testimonies, tables of stone, written with the finger of God. So now, and on those stones was written to keep the Sabbath day, right? So that's written with the finger of God, but somehow we can just do away with it. Because if that be the case, then you can't. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not commit adultery. All that's off the table as well. We know that's not the case. Just like that's still on the table, you still need to keep the Sabbath day. But now it said it's a sign between him and his people, but it's not only. See, there's a commonwealth. You even read when you read it in the Old Testament, you'll often find this phrase: one law to the homeborn and one law to the stranger. He's not rejecting you on an individual level based on nationality. You can serve the true and living God if you're of another nation. Let's read that here. That's how when people be spewing this hate about the hatred of white people and the hatred of other nations and hatred of Africans and all this, the Lord is not rejecting them because of that. They can be a part of the commonwealth of Israel. They just have to, people want salvation. It's other Jews. You just have to do what was given unto them because that's who he manifested himself unto. Matter of fact, that's why he even tells you. See, it's really time out for false doctrine. This is Matthew the 8th chapter. He says, when the centurion came unto him and he's healed his servant. In verse 10 in Matthew 8 and 10, when Jesus heard it, he marveled and said to them that followed, verily I say unto you, I have not found so great faith, no, not in Israel. And I say unto you that many shall come from the east and west and shall sit down with Abraham and Isaac and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. But the children of the kingdom shall be cast out into outer darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. He is not rejecting you solely on that. But now let's pick it up. It's about who's going to serve him. He's not a respecter of persons. Because if that be the case, why you have all these other nations in the first place? Israel is his firstborn. Isaiah the 56th chapter, he says something here. Thus, in verse 1, thus saith the Lord, keep ye judgment and do justice, for my salvation is near to come, and my righteousness to be revealed. Blessed is the man that doeth this, and the son of man that layeth hold on it, that keepeth the Sabbath from polluting it, and keepeth his hand from doing any evil. Right? Then it said, neither let the son of the stranger that have joined himself to the Lord speak, saying, the Lord hath utterly separated me from his people. Neither let the eunuch say, behold, I'm a dry tree. He says, so you of another nation, you don't have to say that. I haven't rejected you because of that. He said, but thus saith the Lord unto the eunuchs that keep my Sabbaths and choose the things that please me and take hold of my covenant. So you can take hold of this covenant. It's a covenant. It's a commonwealth. He said, even unto them will I give in mine house and within my walls a place in the name better than the sons and daughters. I will give them an everlasting name that shall not be cut off. Also, the sons of the stranger that join themselves to the Lord to serve him and to love the name of the Lord, to be his servants. Everyone that keepeth the Sabbath from polluting it, pay attention, and taketh hold of my covenant. Even them will I bring to my holy mountain, bring them joyful in my house of prayer. Their burnt offerings and their sacrifices shall be accepted upon mine altar. For mine house shall be called an house of prayer for all people. So he's not rejecting you because of that. Last place. This is Isaiah. Let's pick it up in Isaiah the 11th chapter. Because this day of rest points to something. It points to a time of peace. This is Isaiah the 11th chapter in verse 6. It says, the wolf also shall dwell with the lamb, and the leopard shall lie down with the kid, and the calf and the young lion and the fatling together, and a little child shall lead them. Okay, so this speaks to the great peace at this time. This is future. Verse 7, and the cow and bear shall feed, their young ones shall lie down together, and the lion shall eat straw like the ox. And the sucking child shall play on the hole of the asp, and the weaned child shall put his hand on the cockatrice, that's a snake. Then shall not, they shall not hurt nor destroy in all my holy mountain, for the earth shall be full of the knowledge of the Lord, as the waters cover the sea. And listen to what it says now in verse 10. And in that day there shall be a root of Jesse, which shall stand for an ensign of the people. This is talking about Jesus. To it shall the Gentiles seek. Listen to this. And his rest shall be glorious. His Shabbat shall be glorious. That's the rest to come, the 1,000-year millennial reign of Christ. Just like he worked for 6,000 years and rest for the 7,000 years. So man must work 6,000 years and rest that 7,000 year. The 1,000-year reign of Christ, the millennial kingdom, right? That's what's going to happen. So, with that, brothers and sisters, I want to remind you that we at the Household of Faith meet every Sabbath at 5925 West 25th Avenue in Gary, Indiana. We live stream right here on the Israel Teach YouTube channel, as well as at www.israelteach.org. If you've been edified through the ministry and would like to leave a donation, you can do so on our website, www.israelteach.org. 100% of the proceeds goes to the work of the ministry. And we're truly thankful for those who have donated. We have Bible study every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. It's a scriptural study, and it's on Zoom, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time every Wednesday night. And the Zoom number is 845-7108-8849. All right. So that's every Wednesday night on Zoom. So if that is more like a scriptural study, to where we're going over specific passages in the book. Now we have Friday night Bible study. If you have any questions, that's where you want to answer your questions, and that's every Friday night at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time on Zoom. And the person in the meeting ID number is 602-961-1318. 602-961-1318. All right. So finally, there are books that are written that are available for purchase on Amazon and other places where books are sold. Into Egypt Again with Ships, The Pagan Origins of Christian Holidays, Hair Like Wool, Feet Like Burned Brass, Killing Black Innocents, For Then Shall Be Great Tribulation, In Defense of Biblical Polygyny, The Feast Days of Shadows, Things to Come, and my latest book, Sex, Marriage, and the Bible. And with that, brothers and sisters, it is always my prayer that you will edify.